you've not got the body and the abs that you want because you're not doing these simple things. In today's video, I'm going to explain everything you need to do to get in the best shape of your life in the next 10 weeks. I am 9 weeks out from my next photo shoot. The last one I did was back in 2021. I am leaner now than I was for that shoot, and I'm about 6 kilos heavier. In this video, we're going to break down how many calories you should be consuming, why steps are great, but also you need to be focusing on conditioning work as well with a mix of steady state cardio and high intensity anaerobic conditioning as well, why you need to spend a good portion of your time going through a reverse diet and gaining phase and not giving yourself 8 weeks to do it. I've been dieting since before Christmas, and this would be effectively 24 weeks. So it's going to be 33 weeks by the end of this photo shoot prep. We'll also cover how to manage social events and what to do when things aren't working. Huh? Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? That's right, you got a couple of parcels as well. Basically, it's fucking nanny at this moment. Doing his washing, doing the washing up, receiving his parcels. I do. I need to pay myself more. So cool. Here we are. We are 9 weeks out from the next shoot, which is gonna be sick. So what have we done to get ourselves here? So I've started working with Dave about 20 weeks ago. So this is us now, 9 weeks out, and about 24 weeks ago is day 0 with Dave. So what we did is we spent about 6 weeks going through a energy availability section. Now what this means is we're trying to get our ability to utilize calories and carbohydrates and fats up so that we are digesting the food better and we're utilizing the calories more. This allows me to go from probably averaging about 2,200 calories to about 2,600 calories whilst maintaining body weight, but feeling stronger, getting better at my training sessions. But it kickstarts the engine. Imagine putting more fuel on the fire, adding more logs to the fire. This is exactly what this phase does. If you then pair that with the fact that with training, we went through a period of structural reloading or structural balance, as muscle nerds would call it. That's their own specialized training program that is designed to improve posture. It's designed to alleviate some aches and pains in the hips and knees, improve breathing mechanics, lifting up the sternum and opening up the rib cage more, so that one, you're getting more air in, you're more efficient and effective when it comes to training. From there, we went through a 10-week recomp phase where we dropped body weight and calories down. That was about 2,000 calories, and that allowed me to drop about 6 kilos in that time frame. It meant that we probably got relatively lean. I think we hit 74 kilos, and training relatively took like a 4 times full body approach in a structure that was around supersets, just for some time-based work. It really just made it so much easier to process things. This is the moment where I then broke a rib playing rugby. Not ideal. So then we spent the next 10 weeks probably just sitting in about a bit of maintenance, and the same with calories, until we then did 6 weeks of actually increased calories. So what this is looking to do is just building that platform and that base so that I've got a better way of starting my calories nice and high. Essentially, it's the same thing as the very start of the journey that we had with Dave, which is just giving that body the ability to use some calories and carbohydrates, add a little bit more muscle tissue, train effectively and train hard now that the rib was better, so that as we head into the shoot now, I'm maintaining as much muscle mass as I possibly can. We actually went up to 3,200 calories, which was wonderful. And here we are 9 weeks out. We're about 1 week into the diet. And calories are now 2,140 and 1,850 on non-training days. So that's been the process of going through this journey so far, and this is why it's so important you give yourself enough time to do it. Whenever we do photo shoots with lads, we make sure that they have spent a bit of time eating some higher amounts of food. So we utilize the guys that are doing the next photo shoot in May. We used Christmas as that period to give them a bit more calories so they were ready to go. And now we're dropping the hammer. One of the lads is pretty much ready already, which is sick. He looks phenomenal. But this is why you've got to give yourself a good amount of time. You need to give yourself more time than you realize, and then try and give yourself an extra 2 weeks at the end to just sort out anything that we might need to, whether that's just giving you a bit more food so you look fuller going into the shoot, or pulling off that last 1 or 2 kilos if we really desperately need to, utilizing some very aggressive dieting techniques that do work. And unfortunately, people don't realize it, that a lot of people need more time to drop weight, and they've always got more weight to drop unless you have done shoots before, unless you have dieted for bodybuilding shows before and things like this. So one of the ways that most people set up calories, and one of the simplest ways that we do it, is we take your body weight in pounds, so LBS, then we times it by 2.2, and then times it by 10 to 12 depending on your activity level. This typically gives a good value that's very close to Miffler's St. Jour calorie target, and therefore it's just a much easier way for us to calculate it. From there, we're then looking to try and get 1 gram per lean body mass and pounds of protein. We're trying to get then 30% from fat, and then the rest from carbs. So this is typically how you want to set out your diet. Now, for most people, that's going to look between 180 grams to 200 grams of protein, around 60 grams of fat, and the rest can come from carbs. So for me right now, with me being at 2,140-ish, we know that the amount of carbs I'm consuming is about 120 grams. This allows me to then try and work towards those calories. Now, what we're trying to then do is utilizing the majority of my carbs through training. So my days typically look like this: waking up at 5:30, working from pretty much 6:30 till 11. This is where I do my first big work block. I then train for 2 hours here, so that's walking back and from the gym. So it's a 10-minute walk, and then an hour 40 for my training sessions at the moment. And then I have my next work block, then I have dinner, and then I have my next work block. So that's typically how I'm running my days at the moment. So when it comes to food, this is what it looks like. So in the morning at the moment, if we take that same line and we adjust it here, I'm having my pre-workout meal here, post-workout here. So pre, and we've got post-workout meal, pre-workout meal. And then around 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm having my breakfast shake, black coffee, and a litre of water. And then in the evening, after that next work block in here, that's where I'm having my dinner. And that's a typical day of what that food looks like. So we're trying to split it into breakfast is where I'm getting about 40 grams of protein. And again, 40 grams here, 40 grams here, but that's more likely 60 for me. And then another 40 grams here. So we're aiming for a minimum of 180, but because you'll have like residual protein in some of the food you're eating as well, so within sweet potato, within some broccoli, within wraps, you'll have those incomplete protein sources. That will typically add up closer to that 200 gram mark throughout the day. And so that's how we structure that. And we always try and make sure that the pre-workout meal is about 30 mins before my workout, and post-workouts pretty much as soon as I can after I finish my workout. The reason for this is it just helps to replenish that glycogen that I've used during training sessions. It helps me just manage those energy levels as we go through. So that's typically how we're running the calories for the moment. Now, the workouts that I'm going for at the moment is a 5 times split plus 1 conditioning session, which replaces the rugby games that I used to play. But because I'm now 9 weeks out from a shoot, I don't want to get injured, so I'm not playing rugby. So what this looks like is that we're going for an anterior posterior split with a arms and shoulders, so proper bro day on Wednesdays. Anterior posterior is then done again. And then Saturday or Sunday is the conditioning workout, which is basically just like a CrossFit workout with some rounds for time and smashing it. And that's typically what we're running with in terms of training sessions. Now, I don't have a huge amount of a step target at the moment because I'm so lean already, because my knee is still having to be managed quite well. My step target's about 8,000 steps. Now, I will typically do that over the course of the week that we're running. Tuesday and Thursday is always a high day because on top of this training split, I then have a Tuesday rugby session and a Thursday cricket session. Told you, full hybrid life here. Yeah, recording YouTube video. You want to come in, Dallas? Dallas! Yeah, Dallas, come here. This is my housemate's new girl's dog, Dallas. Dallas, come here. Come here. Come here. She doesn't want to be on the YouTube. Look at her. She's so cute. That's the same size as me because I am 5'2". I'm actually not. I'm 5'8" and a bit. Promise. Right, go back. See ya. So that's how we're running the training programs, and that's how we're running the amount of steps we're doing. We're aiming for 8,000 steps as a minimum every single day, but it will vary, especially after Tuesday's training sessions. The amount of lateral forces that are going through my knee with the quad tendinopathy and the damage to the patella tendon that we have, I typically have to not train too intensely on the Wednesday, so it means my steps are about 4,000 steps, but equated over the course of the week, it does average to 56,000 steps, which is what my target is for the week. I would always recommend that if you struggle with getting your sessions in and you struggle getting your time in sometimes, is to try and do more steps on the days you're able to. So for me, with double training days on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I can easily get over my step target. But if you struggle with that because of work, you need to utilize things like going for walks in the morning. Now, if you struggle to get a certain amount of steps, let's say you struggle to get 10,000 steps, that's okay. It's not a realistic target. It's an arbitrary number that's been pulled out of the head. What I would recommend is understand that you can utilize conditioning work to match the number of calories that you could burn off the back of it. So let's say you're only able to get 6,000 steps. For how long it would take you to get the extra 4,000 steps, you could do 10 minutes of cycling and just try and blast yourself to try and burn those extra 15 to 20 calories that would come from those 4,000 steps. There's an arbitrary number there as well, but what it means is that you can condense the amount of work into a shorter period of time, which means that you can become more effective with your time. So with the guys that we have that work 80-hour weeks, we don't go, cool, here's a step target. We go, cool, here's a conditioning target of calories you burned. As long as you can burn this amount of calories over the course of your week from the amount of conditioning you do, you're ultimately going to be matching the amount of calories that we burn from missing those steps. Does that make sense? I hope so. Cool. So how am I managing social events at the moment? The key thing is making sure that the people I'm socializing with understand what I'm doing and why I'm prepping for a photo shoot and how it benefits myself. Is also recognizing that I need to put myself more. I can't roll over. I need to make the decisions for myself and put my goals ahead of my fear about upsetting other people and what they want to do. It's a short period of time. It's only 9 weeks. So I know that I can be like, hey, by the way, I'm probably not drinking today. Or, hey, by the way, I'm only going to have a main course today. This is likely what I'm going to have if I'm going for dinner somewhere. And I think a lot of guys struggle with this because, one, they don't want to upset the other person. But you have to put yourself first as a priority if you want to make changes. And if you want to make changes, you have to do things differently from what you've done before. And I think that's one thing that a lot of guys will struggle with because too many people get caught in that nice guy situation where they recognize that they want to make changes, but they're fearful of what the outcome is. And we have it with guys in the program too, like where guys are like, oh, I don't feel that I can do that. But that's a mindset issue. It is one of those things where you've just got to accept that if you want to physically change, you have to treat your weekends like you would Monday to Friday. And that might sound boring, but if you plan things in advance, you can actually still enjoy yourself. So I went out for dinner this week and I looked at the menu ahead of time. I told the person I was going with, like, hey, look, I'm probably going to have this. I'm probably not going to be drinking too much. This is what I need to do to make sure I stay on track. This is what I need to do because I've got a photo shoot coming up. It helps me with my business. It helps me with my mindset. Everything helps when I do a photo shoot. And so I had to explain to them that that's what the decisions I was making. And by looking at the menu in advance, planning my food, it meant that I've got a bit more freedom to actually have some food throughout the rest of the day. And it comes down to making a decision, right? We use the 2 out of 4 method when it comes to meals out. So you're either going to have a starter, a main, drinks, or desserts. And you've got to pick 2 out of those 4 options. You can't have all 4. You can't have 3. You have to pick 2. So that's either I'm going to have 1 or 2 drinks and a main course, or I'm going to have a starter and a main course, or I'm going to have a main course and dessert, or I'm going to have a starter as my main and a few drinks, or I'm going to have my starter as my main and dessert. And by doing this, one, you can enjoy yourself by having some of the food that you're eating. You plan your calories in advance. You can actually have another meal during the day. You can still get some sort of protein in, so like trying to get around like 60 grams of protein in. And that's only going to help moving forward. Now, when it comes to that food, some of the things that you can do is going for single ingredient meals. So think steak, fish, even like beef meals. So last night I had a roast. So I know that roughly that's about 1,200 calories when I have a roast. And that makes it easy for us to be able to manage those calories as you are planning in advance, as you're trying to diet. And I think that's one of the key things that people forget is that if you plan it, everything gets easier. So yeah, single ingredient items, making sure you add maybe like 10 grams of cooking oil as well, because it's always going to be used within cooking process. One of the reasons that food tastes so great from restaurants is because they use a lot of oil and they use a lot of butter when cooking, because fat gives us flavor. So always overestimate. If you're going to go and have lasagna around, I would always advocate for adding like 1.5 of a portion. If you can't find the exact serving, choose something like Tesco's lasagna ready meal. Then add 1.5 servings. So that's one of the options that we use with the guys in the program. If they're not able to find the total ingredients and they're not able to track it precisely, we utilize this really lazy hack, which is if you're going out for spaghetti, you have carbonara, you would then use Tesco's or Sainsbury's, whatever you decide, ready meal carbonara. You'd then put 1.5 a portion. So it's roughly coming out at like 700, 800 calories. Then we know that that's what that meal is. It's ticked off, it's locked down, and you can make that progress. Other things that we can do to help manage the hunger. Flavored water, 0 calories. Appreciate it's a bit processed. I'm obviously a massive advocate for unprocessed meals, but I mean 250 mils of this, so 4, 5, 6 servings of this, 12 calories. So this whole thing is 12 calories and it tastes like strawberry. Well, it doesn't, but it does. Other things, black coffee, white monster, nicotine as well can help with reducing appetite. So whilst I'm working, or if I'm on a heavy dieting day where I've got plans in the evening, let's say, I can utilize some nicotine, so some snus or gum to help reduce that hunger a little bit more. And that just keeps that hunger at bay, so that I'm able to then utilize those calories for those social events a little bit more. Or if I'm stressed and I need to focus in on doing some work. So there's some really good ways that we can actually plan food in advance here. The plan for the next 9 weeks, we have a few social events to process. We've got the OC event in London with Matt, my old coach, and Matt's coach, Callum Raystrick, which is an absolute legend in the game. If you don't know who he is, he's pro coach. Mind-blowing the amount of work that he's done. I remember doing a lot of his courses with Muscle Mentors and watching all of their content through YouTube over lockdown. They're probably one of the first lot of guys that really got me to start to understand biomechanics and its use within training. And then the day after the OC event, I'm then doing a biomechanics course with Integra and Michael Golden, which is the guy that Callum Raystrick learnt his biomechanics from, which is going to be incredible. So I'm very much looking forward to that weekend. Other than that, we're fairly free up until another event in March where I'm going to go to Jack Simons, so the ECB Elite Coaching Blueprint Mentorship Day, which is going to be great as well. Very much looking forward to that. Catching up with some lads that are friends as well. And then from there, it's not very far away from the shoot, and that's going to be really exciting. So that's the plan. We're sitting about 14% body fat right now. I think the aim is to get sub 10. I reckon there's about 3 kilos to pull off. If you don't know, the last time I did a photo shoot, it's always my legs that come in last. I get extremely lean on the upper body, but I always store body fat on my legs. It's just been the natural way of how I've done things. And so yeah, that's the current update. Hopefully you found this useful. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you know anybody that's struggling with their nutrition and diet, please send them my way. Please get them to watch this video because it will help a hell of a lot for you, for them, and for me. So yeah, please hit that subscribe button, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, you legend.